Hey y'all, so we are here at the request of my mom to make a video where we're dialoguing, and we have some questions from my sister that we're going to answer, but basically we're going to talk about our month that we've been here and kind of our impressions and our thoughts, and that's it. And you want to add anything?
Yeah, we have three main reasons of why we moved to Portugal that we wanted to start this out with, which is basically the sun, the weather, cost of living, and the gateway to Europe. So we thought maybe we would start with those broad topics, kind of give our first impressions after a month, and then move to some questions. Sorry, am I moving?
Okay. Makes the camera go up and down.
Okay.
Okay, go for it.
Weather. What do you think, my dearest, about the weather here?
I think right now it's glorious. I think when we first got here, it was super humid. And I think we both thought, oh, we'll adjust to this over time. Not super humid like Mississippi humid, but more humid than the PNW. So now I like it, but I do think that in the summer, it's going to be a little too much for me personally. You?
Agree. Humidity's, ranges. It's not, because there's not a lot of rain here right now, it's, and that humidity level is about in the 70% or so, but it's really not that is that sticky, that stickiness that you get in the deep south. It's the dew point that you really have to watch in anything. It's the dew point here is 65 to 70, and when it gets up that high, it just gets sticky and uncomfortable, and we just don't like that. We're not, and we've learned, it's like, we've been watching a show, what's it called? Hometown, yeah. Set in Laurel, Mississippi. We're like, oh, what a cute town. We could move there. And we're like, no. After living in the South, it's like,
no, it's too much.
Yeah, so appreciating the weather back in the Pac Northwest for sure.
What was the second thing?
Cost of living.
Oh, it's so much better. We went out today for lunch. We each had 2 beers.
Mm-hmm. Big beers.
And a big sandwich. Like a sandwich, it's like for 2 people sandwich. It's not like a sandwich back home.
It's toasty.
If we were to do something like that in Camas, where we last lived, it would be about what?
About $35.
Yeah. So, and it was
$14.90.
Yeah.
It's literally, our meals here are half the cost. Groceries are even less than that. Everything is just really inexpensive, and it's just a nice treat for us to be able to go out a lot. I mean, we pretty much go out every day. So
that's what we love to do. So
yeah.
So that's nice.
That's good. And then the last, I think, major reason of why we lived here is that Portugal is a gateway to Europe.
So we don't have our resident cards yet. We have to go to what's called a SEP appointment, which is, I don't know what exactly it stands for, but it's their Immigration and Border Control, and that we do at the end of January. And that will give us our residency cards. So we can sort of travel around more freely. There are limitations on how long you can be in this country and many other European countries, it's 90 days and then you got to go home. So here, we can't really leave until we get that residency card, but we have snuck out of the country once.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Very low bad.
We went to we went to Ayamonte, Spain, and we did that because we had talked to some locals that said they don't check your passport, they don't stamp your passport, and the stamping of the passport is what will cause us some problems. So we just went across the river, and that was fine.
Yeah, Viva España. It was fun.
But eventually we'll start traveling more, but not until after January 30th. So otherwise we'll just be traveling within Portugal.
Yeah. So not much more to say on that. It just really hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. You want to get those questions up from Angie?
Yeah, we have some fans that have...
we have a fan.
Sent in some questions.
What was the first question?
First question from fan number 1.
From the only fan.
Number 1 fan. What do you miss most about the US of A?
Okay, besides our people, I think I miss knowing where to purchase things because it's not the same here. Like my stuff for my contacts and my eye drops and that kind of thing. you don't get it at the grocery store like you do in the pharmacy section at Safeway. You have to go to an optical shop, and they have to check back with the boss because they don't have what I needed on the counter. You know what I mean? It's a process. So I think figuring out where to shop is a deal for me. We'll get there and it'll be fine, but just that it's not like the United States. And there's no Mexican food here. That's the other thing I miss.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, number one, far and away, is the kiddos. Just being able to give big squeezy hugs and be in person with them is, it's just, it's hard to be away, for sure. But outside of that, just the familiarity of just life in general. I mean, you could drop me in Boston, New Orleans, somewhere in Indiana, and I'll figure it out, right? It's like the language is familiar, life is familiar, and you just figure it out. And here, everything is just so different. And so it's taxing, it's stressful at times. Yeah, not in a way that you can't figure it out, but and I know there are people that just thrive on that and they look forward to that as a part of their life. But
That's not you.
It's not me. Yeah. I've learned in a month it's not me. I really like the familiarity of life and people. We're just now found a cafe that we just absolutely love and are starting to get to know a couple of people there. But it's that, the Caps and Taps back home, which is our, in Camas, which was our little pub that we used to go to. I mean, they knew us, we knew them. You could walk in and it was like Norm, and you got your 2 beers and your chips and queso coming out in 2 minutes. And so that's, I appreciate that. So
yeah, it's different here. Like chatting with your servers, getting to know people by who you have like daily contact with, either in the grocery store or wherever. Like in the States, that happens. You kind of it doesn't happen here. There's another place we like to go to at the marina, and there was a girl that we see all the time, and she stopped by our little table and we said, "Hey, how are you?" And she's like, "Fine." Like, "Why are you asking me?" And we said, "Oh, we just saw you, want to say hi." And she's like, "Okay." Like it's foreign to them. It's not normal. And we've heard this from somebody else that like chatting up is not a thing that they do here. So that's hard for us.
Okay. Question number 2 from number 1 fan is, what food or drink have you discovered that you've fell in love with?
Well, I do like some of their desserts. They have this dessert that's like the country dessert, pastel de nata, and it's very tasty. I don't know that it's a food that I fall in love with. I fall in love with the prices of the food here more than so I can have, things that I more frequently have food that I may not have had back home. But we have also been not so, so we're in an area where seafood is their big deal, and we have ordered some seafood. I don't care that it comes with eyes. I mean, I do care. I don't like it that it comes with their eyes and their heads and the whole, like I ordered shrimp on something and it's the whole shrimp, the tails, the head, the eyes, the antenna, everything. And then once I got the shrimp out of the shell, it just wasn't that great. So I think we have not been as adventurous with food as we might be over the course of a few months from now, but right now we're pretty safe.
Yeah, we're not really out there exploring a lot of authentic foods, I think, in general. Even back home with Mexican food, it's like, where's the American Mexican food? It's just kind of who we are. So, we've had bacalao, which is a famous cod dish here that it's all right. I prefer pizza that's here. I like their pizza.
Did we have bacalao? When did we have that?
I know the first time we were here, in that first resort we were at.
Oh,
the
yeah,
buffet.
it was okay. Yeah.
Pastel de nata for sure, and their ports, are a part of what Portugal produces, and it's something we really enjoy. But we try to just Toasties. Toasties is oh my god, they're everywhere.
But I think that's an English thing or a UK thing. I don't think that's a Portugal thing.
Toasties are basically a grilled cheese sandwich with
meat, smoked ham, whatever.
Yeah. But they're
delish.
everywhere.
Yeah. And they come on different bread than we have. I don't know. They make them.
They're really good. And that with the beers has actually been probably
our staples. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 3 from our number 1 fan is that do they like us Yankees?
Yeah, I don't think anybody has shown us any disrespect or any negativity. We are not the problem in this country. I've heard people before I came here say, oh, don't tell them you're from California, or they don't like Americans or something like that. That has not been our experience at all. There are people in this country from everywhere. There are a lot more Brits than like I have ever heard before. There are a lot of Germans. There aren't as many Americans, and I think we're a growing number, but last count we knew we were like 7,000 in a country of 10 million. Yeah. That's the last stat that we have. So there's not a lot of Americans, and they don't really have an opinion about us. They were confused when we first came in May. They were confused about our accent because they assumed it's British. They didn't realize we were from the States a couple times. So I haven't had any experience with that.
No, I think they would be favorable. As a matter of fact, just this week, we were walking around the marina, and this foursome, he came over from Spain, took the floaty boat over, and all they knew was Spanish. They didn't know any English, but you could just tell using sign language here when not knowing a language is like magical.
Yeah, you gotta
and
figure
so
it out.
they wanted us to take a picture of them, and so I did. And he was just so thankful. And we finally got to that point where he's wanting to have a conversation, and we're just like, no comprende, no comprende. And he's like, you American? You American? Mi español. You American? Mi español. And he's like, just almost like hugging me, just being so grateful.
Yeah, there was not
so it was a heartfelt moment in a way that we couldn't really in language understand each other, but in meaning of just being able to be human and communicate with each other in other ways. It was neat. So I think we answered this next question, which is what's the cost of living like? So I think we can move on to is the language barrier an issue?
I won't say always, but 90% of the time it's difficult. It's not impossible. We had an experience at a bakery. A local bakery that we were referred to by our landlords, who are lovely people, but it's their local bakery where they go. And when we got here, they had a loaf of bread and some pastel de natas waiting for us. And then they, gave us the name of the bakery of where to go get more. And so we went, and the woman that was working the bakery did not speak English
at all.
And so Aaron was using his best Spanish to try and.
That's how I survived.
Yeah. But Spanish and Portugal are two different languages, or Portuguese are two different languages. So he's trying, and she's asking us a question, and we're both looking at each other like, I don't know what you're saying. And eventually we got through it. But at the end, we walked out the door, and she said, ay, 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 ay. Like, that was a complicated thing for her. And so we've only gotten ay, ay, ay once, but we've heard other people get ay, ay, ay. So I think that there are a lot of English speakers and Brits around the area, but not everybody does. And not everybody has the same level of proficiency. So you can, restaurant language, I think we can get by just fine on either Portuguese or English. Grocery store, we've had a couple of situations at grocery stores where I didn't follow the protocol, which I didn't know was the protocol, but, and they tried to help me. They're very nice about it. They're not, even the ay, ay, ay wasn't a mean ay. It's just, it is an issue though.
Yeah, even in the bakery, I mean, she was super nice. But it's like, I'll say, cuatro pastel de nata, por favor. And she'll say, caixa. I'm like,
what does that mean?
I don't know what the word is. And she keeps saying, caixa, caixa, caixa. Well, you look it up, and it's like, it's in a box. Do you want it in a box to take away? And then we ordered, I didn't know the words at the time, but the bread, put into the bread, and she was like grande or something else, and I don't know what she said, but we were grande because we kind of knew that term. Yeah. And then she was like corta. I'm like,
I don't want a quart of anything. I just want this loaf of bread.
And come to find out, it's you want it sliced, and so it's just little things that you learn.
She's over like,
time.
Maish.
Oh yeah, maish.
I don't know what "maish" means.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
And they're like, and finally we're like,
No, no "maish,"
finito,
or
which it
"todo"
really isn't.
or
And then she
something.
said toto.
"Todo,"
Yeah,
yeah.
which we kind of learned was that's all. So just,
It's
stuff,
just, yeah.
stuff like that. That it's just, it's difficult, but you make your way through it. And generally in this area, most people know English, but it makes me think when you go to France or you go to Germany or you go to some of those places
Where we know.
Yeah.
We're going to get a lot.
Yeah.
Whatever their version of that is.
Yeah. Okay, next question from number one fan. Have you made any friends there?
No.
No.
Not yet.
We're not really friendly people.
Somebody's not very friendly. Well, he's very friendly at a restaurant, but this is not a restaurant-friendly place. So that, I think, is a concern or a change for him. There are expats here, and we have reached out once, but we don't want to bug people. I mean, that's the other thing. So at some point, when most of the tourists go away, because tourism is the number one industry here. I thought it was fishing, but it is tourism. When the tourists go away and I hear English, I'm going to start approaching people and say, hey, do you live here? But that's not been the case so far. We're going to go visit our dear friends John and Noemi in Lagos this weekend, and I'm super looking forward to that. But as far as making new friends, no, not yet.
Yeah, and we're not here long term, so
true.
It's the investment in that is, I think, a little.
Yeah, it's not as important to us as it might be for somebody who's planning to be here forever.
Yeah. All right. Next question from number one fan. What do folks do for fun there?
Well, they play dirt ball. They
Just bocce
ball, I think.
Bocce ball.
There's a lot of sitting at the cafes and chatting with your buddies and your friends.
Yeah, coffee, beer, and cigarettes.
But those things all go together all day long, from 10 in the morning until the wee hours of the night.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of, it's a very familial type of culture. So when we go out for our lunch, you'll see some restaurants, which I'm sure are local restaurants, or where the locals go most. They're there with all of their family, like their aunts, their uncles, their cousins, their grandparents, their children, their babies. Like everybody goes out together, and I think that is a common thing. There's also a lot of festivals around, and I don't know, they're formal festivals. Like all of a sudden, earlier this week, Ferris wheel showed up in our town. And we went out today for a walk, and they closed the down street and went to the square, and they're building something, like something's going to happen probably this weekend. Why? I don't know. It's not a holiday that I've seen on the calendar, but why not? I think it's a bigger question for here. Like, I feel like it happens a lot. It's not, I think we talked about in one of the first videos about how people stay up late and it's loud and there's fireworks all the time. That has died down, but they're still out late all the time. Like we go out for occasionally, we go out for a walk, and we have tried hard to sleep in late and and go to bed late, but we just can't do that. We're on American time. But families are out and their kids are running around the square, and everybody's having a great time. And it's super safe around here. I feel like you don't have to worry about your kids so much. It's a community in a way that I think you have to be an insider to be a part of, or, whether that means you were born and raised here, or you're Portuguese, or you have made a super big effort to become a local. That's just not something we're doing, but it's a very different culture in that way.
Yeah, and not much more to say on that. What we like to do for fun here, or just our normal life, is that we are very active in the morning. We'll relax, we sleep in, we have our coffee, really good coffee.
Sleep in to like 8. I mean, we don't sleep in like they do, but
yeah. But have our coffee, and then we go on walks. And today we went on a 6-mile walk, walked all the way to another town, along the boardwalk, along the Atlantic Ocean, and just people watch. I mean, we do a lot of people watching. Eat and go to our favorite little cafes, and have our beers or our vino verde and our little meals that we like, and just people watch and hang out and have fun and laugh and have a good time.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of that.
if you haven't noticed, we are total amateurs at this whole video. Like, look at that. I can't, my arm's getting tired, so.
And it's almost 20 minutes,
Yeah,
so we
it's been
should
a long time.
probably shut this thing down. So
Yeah.
should we say ate logo?
Yeah, and if you have questions, we'll probably do one of these, like, here's the month so far.
Yeah.
Send us a question. You can leave in the comments, or you can email us, or however you communicate with us normally. And
Ciao, ciao, mi amigos.
yeah, we'll see you later.
Love you.
Bye.